Hi, I'm Matt with Schematical, and today I'm alone because Dom is traveling. A world jet setter he is. And today we're going to talk about the Axios hack. If you aren't familiar with the Axios hack, Axios, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is one of the world's most popular JavaScript libraries. I'm going to try and move myself around the screen. I also don't have him to produce for me today, so I'm just winging it. There we go. That looks halfway decent. So it's one of the world's most popular JavaScript libraries. It allows you to make requests out using promises. Basically, I would think, actually, we could look this up real quick while I'm here. Um, Percentage of applications by language. See if we can get that in there so I can get you some very specific stuff. Um, right now, we're looking at 47.5% use Python, 41.5%. That's based on recruiters. Sorry, I'm looking at some numbers here. Either way, JavaScript is the most widely used programming language. Roughly 62 to 66% of developers, according to, let me cite my source here, transition. Either way, it's a huge amount of the web runs on JavaScript because it has to run on the browser. Well, a very, very, very popular library for it got hacked, and it was a brutal one. They did. I don't mean to pat the bad guys on the back, but if you see the way they pull it off was impressive. These are not necessarily good people by any means. I mean, it also could be a state-sponsored attack. I'm not fully sure. But they basically got access to an account that was a contributor to Axios, from my understanding. And they pushed up a fake dependency. So it was to, I believe, crypto-js, but it was a repo that looked like crypto-js. Crypto-js is not malicious, to my knowledge. But they created a plain crypto-js, which actually didn't have any malicious code in it for the most part. And no malicious code was actually executed inside the main Axios module. What they did is they ran a post install command inside the plain crypto.js. I should just have this article right in front of me so I can read it off. Yeah, plain crypto.js. And I wrote about this when it happened. But that then installed the a malicious package. It looked at what OS you had and then installed a RAT, a remote access tool. So, and then at that point, it's if you ran it locally and you didn't have it containerized, that's on your hard drive. That is there. Uninstalling this code isn't going to do it. So you'd have to actually properly go in there and probably do a hard reset on it because this rat was diabolical, bouncing around a bit, I guess. I didn't find it on mine. As you know, the if you installed it on a remote server, it would have given access to that too. It's almost worse in some ways, though. I mean, not really worse, but like a lot of these hacks, like, oh, it's really bad if it gets installed on a server. This one was bad if you install it locally. So just another reason to containerize your installs whenever you're doing that. Because this could have got your AWS keys very easily, other credentials, PEM keys, you name it. Now they're in some nefarious party's hands. So I also want to entertain the theory that this might not just be necessarily like this could be the CIA or the Department of this could be the U.S. I don't know. It could be any country, state sponsored actor. So we don't really know, but I could see why any major government would with the way things are right now. It's Volux. I actually have the screen big enough I can see when you chat. Thank you for jumping in. It has not been a good month for security. No, it hasn't. Have you been dealing with this Axios fallout at all? Or I guess what security issues have you encountered? So, yeah, I'm doing some security work for one of my clients right now. Well, I'm doing some DevOps work, build pipelines. And of course, I'm in there, so I find a thing or two where I'm like, yeah, it doesn't need access to all that. We could tighten this up, but that's anytime I go in anywhere, I'm sure you could see that. Glad I wasn't updating anything for a long time. Yeah, yeah, that would have been a bad one. That would have been a wipe your computer one for this Axios thing if I had installed it locally. Um, but you think about that. It's like any given date it could happen. I mean, that's again one of the most popular libraries. You just got to be ready, and again, containerize whenever possible. Always use the principles of least access, least privilege. I always mess that one up, but yeah, not I implement it well in the field. I always mess up the name of it. Um, so yeah. So without Dom here, I don't know if I can keep the conversation going as long as I'd like to. Yeah, minimum the damage, absolutely. I don't. Yeah, something that I see people are very trusting. Like I trust my developers. I get that. It's not your developers I'm worried about. It's what they could have installed on their machines accidentally when they install some freeware game or some bit mining software, and now it's got creds that can do quite a bit of malicious stuff. I've seen once you get those creds leaks, I've seen I think it was 16 million emails sent in 8 minutes, and it was Dominic's here. Hey, there we go. I'm gonna try and add him to the stage.
6 minutes and 37 seconds. And
Uh,
all
Hi,
right, great.
Dom. We're talking with It's Volix right now. I think Volex VOOLLX. That too is a virus. Gets in compilers too. I could see that. But yeah, we got some chatter going on. Dom, I can see you're clearly still in Rome. I assume.
I am in Rome, and I've had a bit of wine this evening.
How professional.
Well,
Uh,
my calendar just popped up, and you just popped up in Discord saying I should be here. So I've come to join you. And it says you are in the show. Everybody can see you and hear you. So best of
yep.
luck to you, Matt, on this one.
No, it's all right. I was just going over the Axios hack. So to kind of reiterate for you, the JavaScript, obviously one of the biggest language there. Axios is this like the standard how you make HTTP requests. So you make an HTTP request with AWS SDK, it probably uses Axios under the hood. Like almost every SDK that's for JavaScript's probably got an Axios buried somewhere in it, and it's I don't say every, but a huge amount. And somebody managed to inject a fake dependency that looked like a very popular real dependency that ran a post install command that installed a RAT, a remote access
Hmm.
tool, basically to go in and backdoor you and steal all your creds and whatnot. And it was live for a couple hours, probably a couple million
Is this
installs.
on GitHub, GitLab, etc.?
Yeah, NPM was the vector of attack,
Okay,
and
okay,
and
okay, okay.
and yeah, and so somebody gained access somehow to basically be a maintainer of Axios and snuck in this fake dependency, which made it live until security researchers found
Hmm.
it. And I mean, it if it is, usually it's bad if it makes it to the server because it becomes a tool. This is almost easier because you could just wipe the server if you're
It
using
was a
virtual
dependency.
cloud servers.
It was 100% a dependency. You didn't even think about it. It was already there.
Well, but the worst part is if you were a developer and you installed this, you'd have to wipe your system.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's
well,
where it
your
gets ugly.
npm
You got
install, your whatever package manager you're using for Node. Absolutely.
yeah, and so you basically have to wipe just reinstall whatever OS you got at that point. So that would have been ugly, and it probably was for some people. So
Did you do that?
I was not running any installs in the timeline that happened. So and I checked the versions.
Mm,
I didn't install anything that had those versions in it. Luckily, I was working in C# at the time, right in the
mm,
game,
mm.
so I wasn't installing anything Node.
But does that impact any code pipelines that you may have deployed or other
I
things? And
I
if so, is there like a flag that can be set saying there's a critical vulnerability in this particular release that you flagged to push out?
I checked my clients and I raised flag with them saying, double check, we're not doing this anywhere. I mean, you could have installed a command line tool that relied on Axios, and that still would have had the negative effect. So I'm like, I warned them, and I went through and I wasn't installing anything at that time. My pipelines for my website, no deploys went live during that time. But I mean, schematical.com gets like a deploy a month maybe. So
there's that comic you see about, and I see at least, and maybe you don't see, but every 6 to 12 months that shows up on Reddit that the entire internet is essentially built upon 4 packages that are maintained by people sitting in somebody's basement.
yeah,
Is this one of those sort of situations?
possibly, or they got access to one of those people's computers and then pushed up this malicious code that then infected. It's a proper virus then, if you look at it like that, because then once you've got access to all these other ones, now you're using these computers that are compromised to attack other things. So it's interesting. And I was just debating who did the attack too, because I mean it could be a malicious party. Benefit? Yeah, could be a malicious party, or it could be a state-sponsored actor. There's any number of big governments that.
I mean, that's pretty high up the totem the totem pole of potential aggressors, let's say.
And I don't have any indication, but a lot of these, DoD types and stuff like that, they like having back doors into stuff. So, and this is something that's used by, that crosses lines. It's not like it's like, oh, this is the, the hardware that's favored by Americans versus other people.
So if somebody were to fall to this attack, what would the attacker gain access to?
Yeah, from what I saw, assuming it's not containerized. If it's containerized, you'd be ideally isolated to the container running on your machine, like Docker or whatever. But if you got access to like the host OS, you could pull your AWS creds like it's nothing. Easy PEM keys, tax documents, inappropriate photos you might have stored on there.
None of those.
Yeah. So
that I'm willing to admit to right now.
Yeah. So okay. Well, we're going on 15 minutes here. I think I'm glad I decided to go on. I was like, should I go on without Dom? But yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was late. My calendar alerted me to this.
No worries. I know you're out there. You're on a voyage. So
a journey called life, right?
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to wrap it up. With that said, I'm Matt with Schematical. If you have trouble with this type of thing, you want to better understand this type of attack, or you want to defend yourself, and make sure that even if your team members or your pipelines do get some type of rat attack or elevated access, you limit your downside. That's what I do for a living. So feel free to reach out to me at schematical.com. And yeah, that's it. It's Volks. I hope I said it right. Thanks for hopping on and commenting. Appreciate it. Everybody have a great day.
Yeah, well.